Unit 13 Positive Organizational Behavior. 13.0 Introduction. The present unit explains about the concept of positive organizational behavior. Positive psychology is relatively a new field which reflects the relevance of hope, optimism and resilience among individuals as well as society. The present unit will discuss about the ways through which an organization can enhance positive behavior of its employees. It discusses the impact of self-efficacy, hope, optimism and resilience among employees that can contribute towards organizational development. At the end of the unit, the relevance of emotional intelligence towards positive organizational development will also be discussed. 13.2 Meaning and definition of positive organizational behavior. Organizations face multiple challenges and threats today: threats to effectiveness, efficiency, increased completion and changing customer demands, and the constant challenges to maintain congruence among organizational dimensions such as strategy, culture and processes. Keeping organizational healthy and viable in today's world is a daunting task. There are several basic behavioral science principles and practices that can be applied in organizations for increasing the individual and organizational effectiveness. Such systematic and planned process by which the functioning of organizations is improved is called as organizational development. Organizational development (OD) programs are the interventions and activities that are conducted in the organizations aimed at improving the functioning of individuals, teams and the whole organization, and imparting the necessary skills and knowledge in the members for improving their functioning. These programs are long-term, planned and sustained efforts for improving the fit between the individual and the organization, between the organization and the environment etc., and among the various organizational outcomes such as strategy, structure and processes. Positive organizational behavior has recently recognized many positive constructs such as positive effectivity, positive reinforcement, procedural justice, job satisfaction and commitment, pro-social and organizational citizenship behavior etc. Luthans defines positive organizational behavior as the study and application of positively oriented human resource strengths and psychological capacities that can be measured, developed, and effectively managed for performance improvement in today's workplace. 13.3 Positive psychology and positive organizational behavior. Positive psychology is relatively new field focusing on positive aspects of human existence given by Martin Seligman 1999 and were subsequently developed by Luthans and his colleagues in 2004 in the USA. Positive organizational structure includes strategies and methods that are effective and beneficial to achieve the desired goal, and positive psychology deals with how positive attitude and hope can enhance the efficiency of an individual on any desired task. There are mainly three levels of positive psychology given by Seligman mentioned below. 1. Valued subjective experiences. 2. Positive individual traits. 3. Civic virtues and the institutions that moves the individual toward better citizenship. Positive organizational behavior involves psychological component which called as BAPCH that has shown positive correlation with desired employee attitudes, behaviors and performance etc. The next topic covers the overall dimensions of psychological capital. Psychological capital or BAPCH. Any organization would want to actualize their goal with high level of productivity, which depends on the psychological and physical participation of human resources. The concept of psychological capital depends upon the positive aspects of human life, and hence the main components of psychological capital include self-efficacy, hope, optimism, and resiliency. Hence, BAPCH is defined as an individual's positive psychological state of development that is characterized by 1. Having confidence, self-efficacy, to take on and put in the necessary effort to succeed at challenging tasks. 2. Making a positive attribution, optimism, about succeeding now and in the future. 3. Persevering toward goals and, when necessary, redirecting paths to goals, hope, in order to succeed. And 4. When beset by problems and adversity, sustaining and bouncing back and, even beyond, resiliency, to attain success. Positive psychological capital focuses on positive aspects underlying the cognitive process, human motivation and striving for success, which results in better performance in workplace. There are 4 basic components of psychological capital, which are as follows. Self-efficacy. It involves the confidence of an individual or perceived ability about how to achieve a particular goal. Hope. It involves the interaction of 2 processes which are mainly agency and pathway. Optimism. It is a trait through which a person defines the internal factors are fixed and global, whereas the external factors are not fixed and are specific to attribution. Resilience. A positive way of coping with challenges and difficult situations. 13.3.1 Self-efficacy / confidence. Bandura's social cognitive theory explains how environment, personal cognitions and behavior interact with each other to determine the overall outcome of the response. This theory consists of a theoretical framework which emphasizes on how an individual uses symbolization, self-regulation and self-reflection to deal with a particular situation successfully and reflects back on their experiences to deal in future. A definition provided by Stajkovic and Luthans says self-efficacy refers to an individual's conviction about his /her abilities to mobilize the motivation, cognitive resource and course of action needed to successfully execute a specific task and context. Self-efficacy is different from other organizational concepts such as which are especially with self-esteem, expectancy concepts and locus of control, etc. Whenever we talk about self-esteem is global construct of one's own worthlessness. Here the major focus is on current self, whereas, in self-efficacy is about success in future tasks or situation. Another concept which is similar to self-efficacy is expectancy, which involve the outcome or consequences of any behavior, whereas self-efficacy deals with one's ability to execute certain behavior pattern. The last concept which is similar to self-efficacy is locus of control, which involves attribution of action outcome contingencies. Some people believe in internal factors such as effort, hard work, etc., whereas some focus on external factors such as task difficulty, luck, etc. 13.3.1.1 Sources of efficacy. There are various sources of self-efficacy such as mastery experiences, vicarious experience, social persuasion and physiological and psychological arousal. They are described briefly below. Mastery experience, individual's situational, complexity of task, and cognitive processing, perception of one's variable, affects the performance, which affects self-efficacy of the individual. Mastery in any specific task alters one's perception and judgment, which later on helps in development of strong positive self-efficacy. Vicarious experiences or modeling. Sometimes individual learn through modeling, copying, someone whose behavior reinforces them and they try to imitate those behavior, through observational learning. It is important to take into account the demographics of the model such as sex, age, education, etc. and the task performed. The more similarities with the model, more will be the effect of observational learning. Social persuasion. Whenever an individual is given a proper objective feedback, constant support and positive appreciation that increase self-efficacy, in contrast to a situation where the individual is not given any kind of appreciation or support. Social persuasion works more effectively when the individual is struggling to perform any new or difficult task. Emotional cues. Individual should always have a balance between physical and psychological arousal to succeed effectively at any task. Extremely negative energy occurs if the person feels tired or mentally exhausted, hence good positive energy for both physical and mental health increases the self-efficacy of an individual. 13.3.1.2 Need for self-efficacy in positive organizational development. Self-efficacy theory has been widely used in many clinical and counseling purposes to help people facing anxiety, to develop resistance against addictive substances, to enhance education achievement. New awareness in organization setup aims to enhance various aspects that are briefly described as follows: selection. Knowing the self-efficacy of an individual can help the organization to predict his/her performance in the future. People who are highly motivated and have high self-efficacy will perform better in the task assigned to them. Generally, there are many self-efficacy questionnaires available in workplace setting which can be used not only for selection purpose but can also be extended for placement and career planning. Assessment conducted after certain time gap can reflect cluster of potentials and abilities that can be relevant to career advancements. Leadership. An effective leadership is always an important part of organization success, and a successful leader always poses high self-efficacy level. According to BAPCH's 1982, job competency is an act as an underlying characteristic of an individual that results in effective in any job. Having high level of managerial competencies can help the organization develop in every aspect. Here it is important to distinguish between generalized competencies and managerial competencies, wherein the former deals with overall perceived ability to deal with a task, while the later includes both perceived and actual competencies, which is the ability to deal with various aspects of organization such as technical, conceptual and human relation. Hence, knowing and developing such skills can benefit both the organization and self. Training and vocational counseling. There are many implications of self-efficacy in training, as in actual real-life work setup. High level of self-efficacy is required to achieve any organizational goal. Hence, self-efficacy paradigm can be very effective if it is transferred to the real-life setting. Films can be made and tested for a modeled performance for trainees. Another way may be to trace the instances in the past which may result in low self-esteem and later on work on it to avoid the same problem in the future. Similarly, in case of vocational counseling, perceived competencies can be tested and the area of interest can also be discovered. Mastery can be done for any area which has got many opportunities but low self-efficacy. Performance, appraisal, goal and incentive. Self-regulation is an important tool to maintain attainable goal and motivate oneself to attain that goal. Research has shown specific incentive technique require high level of self-efficacy, which involves persuasive and feedback ability. Whenever extremely negative appraisal for performance is given, the level of self-efficacy is decreased. That reduces the motivation to work towards the goal. Group and organizational performance. Working in organization requires good overall self-efficacy, which can be measured using many techniques. For example, one may integrate one's performance individually and compare with total group performance level. Another technique includes individual taking an average of their own performance and introspecting on the scores. The organizational context plays an important role, where resistance to change acts as a barrier for positive organization development. Groupthink is one of the phenomena which are not uncommon in organizational setup. Sometimes people have extreme level of optimism which can encourage them to take risks affecting the organization development. Hence, above are the areas that can be focused and improved upon to have and maintain positive organizational development. 13.3.2 Hope. Hope capitalizes on an individual's self-initiated, goal-directed motivations and behaviors. Having hopes from somebody or on oneself determines the mechanisms to achieve a goal. One among such mechanism is agency or internalized control that creates the determination and motivation, willpower, to accomplish one's goals. Another component of hope involves those pathways through which the goal is achieved by overcoming the obstacles, which is called way power. The component of hope involves the quality of goals being set depending upon the increase in the intensity of the challenges being based and the selection of new mechanism to deal with the challenges effectively. Snyder, Irving, and Anderson define hope as a positive motivational state that is based on an interactively derived sense of successful 1. Agency, goal-directed energy, and 2. Pathways, planning to meet goals. Snyder and his colleagues have developed a scale related to hope, and that scale is called a state hope scale. The components in the scale have high correlation between hope and work-related goal expectancies. Researchers have supported the fact that high level of hope always helps an individual to deal with any kind of difficult or challenging situation, as hope always provides positive attitude and viewpoint about any situation. Some of the characteristics of hope involve the following features. Hope involves both willpower and way power. Initially, people used to consider hope as a feeling which involves thoughts that make the person believe that goals are attainable and they can be met. This was considered to be unidirectional approach, whereas in bidirectional approach of hope both the will and way plays an essential role. Here the person tries to figure out what are the possible mechanisms through which a goal can be attained, and along with this the person also maintains a belief that the goal is attainable. Hope as state type and not trait type characteristics. Snyder described hope as being a relatively enduring mindset, but also emphasized that there exists a more transitory state form of hope that can be developed and managed. His theory notes that fluctuations in this state hope serve as the variable base upon which the more enduring trait hope is built. Although the malleability of hope may be strongest in children and young people, even mature adults are open to change in overall hope. Hope can be validly measured. Many scales have been developed in order to measure the state and trait aspect of hope, which has got good convergent and discriminant validity. A scale of 12-item adult dispositional hope scale validly measures the self-reported hopefulness trait of an individual. Another scale called a specific hope scale was developed to measure an individual's level of hope specific to 6 life arenas: social, romance/relationship, academic, family, leisure, and work/occupation, role of hope in goal setting and empowerment process. Hope as a construct differs from both self-efficacy and optimism. Locke and Latham, who initially focused on the process of attaining a goal and the factors that influences the goal-directed behavior such as motivation, arousal etc. The agency part of hope connects with aspects like arousal and persistence, whereas the pathway part of hope deals with the mechanisms and process. Hope theory suggests that motivation and willpower can be enhanced by engaging employees not only in the establishment of goals but also in the creation and choice of pathways to achieve those goals. Hence, having an explicit goal is equally important as much the process of attaining it. 13.3.2.1 Hope and Workplace. Many of the researchers have shown that having high level of hope is always beneficial for the organization, as in every level of the hierarchy there is a hope that is maintained to achieve some attainable target for goal. In an organization both willpower and way power play essential role, which creates a lot of future perspective for the organization. It was shown in a research that people who had high hope worked more intrinsically towards achieving a goal. There needs to be more exploration research done in the future, as the present researches shows how certain elements of hope affects performance and personal motivation. Hence, more research has to be done in order to understand how other factors other than performance are affected by the level of hope. 13.3.3 Optimism. Positive psychology emphasize more on optimism to enhance the overall development of the individual. For example, Seligman and Schumann found that optimistic insurance agents were more successful than pessimistic insurance agents. Being optimistic always helps the individual to stay balanced and fit both mentally and emotionally. Organizational culture includes a set of beliefs, values and traditions that are meant to be followed by all the employees of the organization. Sometimes stress and pressure can affect the productivity, commitment and job satisfaction of the individual. Hence, maintain a good amount of optimism can help the organization to maintain positivity and high productivity. Below are some of the dimensions explained which talks about the nature of the construct optimism. Optimism as human nature. The concept of optimism is an old terminology which got immense acceptance in recent years as early philosophers and psychiatrists used to consider optimism as a difficult concept to incorporate in reality. Later on, after few years, many cognitive psychologists in 1970s started considering optimism as an cognitive concept that affects any individual's decision-making and problem-solving capacities. It is now in the recent years when the concept gained immense acceptance from different fields like anthropologist, psychiatrist, evolutionary psychologist who consider optimism as core part of human nature and an essential trait that helps an individual to deal effectively and grow positively. Optimism as an individual difference. According to Seligman, optimism is considered as an attribution style that explains cause of any positive consequences be personal, permanent, and pervasive causes, and cause for negative consequences be through external, temporary, and situation-specific ones. As a result of this, optimistic people tend to develop a very positive approach while dealing with a problem, wherein they build positive expectancies that motivate them to achieve any goal and select more adaptive coping strategies for future. On the other hand, pessimistic person focus on integral factors such as their hard work and effort and consider the situation to be long-lasting global. 13.3.3.1 Optimism and workplace. As explained above, both hope and self-efficacy involves internalized and agentic characteristics, whereas in optimism the person also considers the external factors that could be responsible for the outcome or consequences. For example, an individual who is optimistic will weigh both positive and negative outcome at the same time while dealing with a problem. Researchers have suggested that optimism involves cognitive, motivational and emotional components. Martin Seligman, who gave the concept of learned helplessness, explained that an individual who is under stress and not able to cope the problem develops learned helplessness after a period of time. This work involves the attribution styles, which are either generalized or exploratory style, focusing on different aspects. The concept of optimism is developed in opposite to learned helplessness, which focuses on how to focus on positive aspects of the situation and positive outcome of the situation. Generally, pessimistic people face learned helplessness, where they assume responsibility for unfavorable situations that are beyond their control, or give credit to someone, or something else for their own accomplishments, or they set up unrealistic standards of goal achievement that are not attainable, which can make them experience more failures than successes. According to C. Peterson, optimism needs to be flexible and realistic, that allows recognition of positive achievements in oneself and others, and accountability and acceptance of responsibility for challenges and difficult situations. Therefore, optimism is considered to an essential and significant trait of an individual for dealing with difficult problems / situations in both personal and professional life. But in some workplace setting there are some downsides of optimism, because sometimes optimistically driven behavior may be aimed at some pointless pursuits which are called as false optimism. Therefore, optimism is considered to an important trait of an individual in both personal and professional settings. 13.3.4 Resilience. Adults generally experience few traumatic events in normal day-to-day life. To cope with such difficulties and challenges, a person needs to be resilient. Many internal and external forces play a role in developing resilience in an individual. Three major concepts of developing resilience are a. Identifying resilient qualities of individuals and support systems that predict social and personal success. B. Understanding the process of coping with stresses, adversity, change, or opportunity resulting in the identification, fortification, and enrichment of protective factors. And C. Identifying the motivational forces within individuals and groups and the creation of experiences that foster the activation and use of these forces. There are many ways to provide resilient environment in an organization, such as proactively avoiding situations which are aggression-provoking. Such resilience can be developed through good social support from both professional and personal level. A good rapport and trust will be developed when the organization provides comfortable environment and a positive employee-employer psychological contract. An ethical and trustworthy organization tries to develop mutual benefit, and where employees can regain organizational commitment and job satisfaction. There are different methods to develop resilience, such as asset-focused and process-focused. The earlier process deals with assets, which human capital such as knowledge, skills, and abilities, and social networks of support or social capital. In such technique, resilience would increase employability of the employee through paying their education or promoting developmental workshops and cross-training, and rewarding those seeking to better themselves. A process-oriented approach involves self-efficacy, which acts as a mediator in resilience. 13.3.4.1 Ways to improve resilience in workplace setting. As explained above, there are many ways to improve resilience in workplace setup. Some of the ways are mentioned as follows. Strategies using positive emotions. Fredrickson's explained that people try to broaden their thought-action repertoires for building out their personal resource. Positive emotions always as a trigger for developing such thoughts. People who have faced trauma and overcame it try to focus on positive emotions, which makes them more resilient and strong as personality. Strategies using self-enhancement. Enhancing characteristics such as being confident, positive and optimistic can be achieved through focusing on self-enhancement. Researchers have shown that organizations should encourage qualities of being adaptive, explorative and open to new experiences so that they can work on themselves for better personality development. Strategies using attribution. It involves perception or inference of causes. People who focus on negative events and blame themselves have lower resilience, whereas people who focus on positive events and have constant belief in them have high resilience. Hence, every individual should monitor their attributional style to ensure about their progress in both personal and professional life. Strategies using hardiness. It involves self-perceptions of commitment, control, and challenge that help in managing stressful circumstances. The concept of hardiness is based on the fact that one can find a meaning of life by being committed, have a belief in bringing a change around the surrounding, and a belief that one can grow from both positive and negative life experiences. 13.4 Emotional intelligence in workplace. Other than this, there is one more concept which adds on to the feature of positive organizational development, which is emotional intelligence. In general, average intelligence is always considered to be an important aspect of selection in any organization. Recent evidences show how emotional intelligence is important for a success in any organization. The next topic explains briefly about the need for emotional intelligence in workplace. Emotional intelligence is considered to be a valuable and crucial aspect needed for positive organizational development. The concept of emotional intelligence was given Salovey and Meyer, which was explained as an ability that are more specific to social environment than just general intelligence. A person who is high on emotional intelligence always tries to understand others' feelings and tries to maintain one's own feelings and thought. On the other hand, Goleman explained emotional intelligences as the capacity for recognizing our own feelings and those of others, for motivating ourselves, and for managing emotions well in ourselves and in our relationships. Many researchers in the field of emotional intelligence have shown that having high emotional intelligence makes more career success. People try to understand the situation in every point of view where they focus on their emotions and regulate them to keep themselves motivated. At the same time, they try to understand others' emotional and perspective to deal effectively with the situation. In the organization, knowing the ways employees use or handle any challenging situations can benefit the organizational members to focus on effective modification strategies and encourage them to maintain positive attitude and emotional state. Hence, organization need to emphasis on emotional regulation and emotional intelligence so that a positive motivating environment is created, leading to successful organizational development. 13.5 Let us sum up. It can be summed up from the above unit that positive organizational behavior can significantly contribute towards organizational development. In the present unit, the concept of positive organizational behavior was explained. You were also informed about the ways through which an organization can enhance positive behavior among its employees. It discussed about the impact of self-efficacy, hope, optimism and resilience among employees that can contribute towards organizational development. At the end of the unit, the relevance of emotional intelligence towards positive organizational development was also discussed.